everyone, we are still in Aveiro and now we will give you a virtual visit through ECOMARE, a research center from the University of Aveiro. Ricardo Calado, the person responsible for ECOMARE, is already waiting for us. Let's go! Hi Ricardo, thank you for finding the time to show ECOMARE to the startups. Can you explain to the startups what is your role here in ECOMARE and what are the main areas that ECOMARE works?
Okay, so here at ECOMARE we have two different units. One that's more related to the recovery of marine animals, like sea mammals, seabirds. And this unit, which I coordinate, is the one where we do research on sustainable aquaculture, especially on integrated multi-trophic aquaculture, which we think is very interesting for the Portuguese landscape. We also do some research on marine biotechnology, especially on the production of biomass for the bioprospecting of natural marine products. And also we are doing some research on applied marine ecology, namely on what concerns habitat restoration.
We have some startups that are still developing their bio-based technology and others that are already in the market. How can ECOMARE help them grow?
Okay, I think the most appealing service that we can provide is to give access to some of our life support systems where they can do experiments at a pilot scale and test some of their ideas. We are here by the inlet of the Rio de Aveiro coastal lagoon, where we have access to good quality marine water, and we can also operate recirculated systems using synthetic or artificial seawater, so we can really provide them access to several state-of-the-art systems that they can use for their experimentation at pre-validation level, let's say, of their ideas.
Apart from the life support system, do you have any other services that you can provide to the startups?
Yes, for instance, we have state-of-the-art equipment to monitor nutrients, for instance, in marine water, which can be very important if you're operating in the field of aquaculture. Our equipments were custom built to operate specifically with marine samples, and we can provide results on different types of nitrogen levels in your waters, phosphorus. We can also analyze different levels of carbon in your samples, and this is very important. We also have a molecular biology laboratory where, for instance, we provide detailed analysis of the microbiome present in the samples. So we work a lot with the microbiome of marine fish, for instance, of the mucus in marine fish. And we can also provide more simple details like confirming that the species you're working with is truly that species, not a neighboring species or a cryptic species that may be important for you in terms of truly knowing what's that you're using in your enterprise.
Now let's say someone wants to certify their products. Can ECOMARE help somehow?
Yes, we have been working for a couple of years now in origin certification. So we can provide evidence through the monitoring of natural fingerprints that a given organism is being produced in a certain location under certain protocols. And this can be very important if you want to provide this information to your customer. So if you are selling something that you advocate it is organic, you can actually back that up with analysis that show that your product is truly what you say it is, and you can also use it to expose fraudulent practices, people who take advantage of other people's certification and try to sell something which is not truly what they are claiming to be.
And what tells you apart from other marine research centers here in Portugal?
Well, I think it's our exquisite combination of marine conservation and applied research that services the industry. So it's not very common for you to see dolphins on one side and in the same facility having someone doing services for the aquaculture industry, for instance, testing a feed or testing how certain species perform. So for the company that is testing aquaculture feeds, we can provide them tanks with multiple sizes for their trials. Our biggest one is 1,500 cubic meters, so it's a lot of water. But we also have other services that may be interesting for them, especially on facilities associated at the main campus, where we can look at the biochemical composition, for instance, of the animals they're producing, and also of what's not being eaten, which is also a very important part when you're talking about this topic. About macro and microalgae companies, we have a lot of experience with photobiology, which provide instant data on the status of the photosynthetic performance of your algae, which is very important, especially if you're trying to do some automation and you need to decide if you need to provide more light, less light, different types of light, if the changes that you're experiencing are affecting the photosynthetic capacity of your algae. I think that this field of photobiology is very, very interesting, and is probably what some of the companies may be missing for taking the next big step in optimizing their production. Another thing that it's really interesting here in our facility is that we have lots of room available surrounding the facility, which is not a common feature in most research centers. So we can accommodate fairly big setups if you want to test a prototype at the pre-industrial scale, for instance. And I think this really gives us an edge compared to other centers.
We know that you have already done some work in coral propagation. Could you also collaborate in that topic?
Yes, actually we keep on doing some research on that topic, especially investigating the plasticity of corals, which is very important when you are trying to restore reefs that are being impacted by climate change. So they must endure the conditions of today and the conditions of tomorrow. And for that, you need to run many trials in the lab first, and then do some trials in the field as well. So our main activity is in doing the trials ex situ, so under controlled conditions in the lab, where we can control all the parameters that may influence the life of your corals: temperature, nutrient load, turbidity. All these, we have systems that we can use to mimic what's happening in the reef. And also we can simulate the conditions predicted for 50 years from now, for 100 years from now, in terms of temperature and in terms of pH, for instance. So yes, we can certainly help someone working on these fields.
As someone that experienced a life in both academia and as an entrepreneur, can you give some advice to the startups?
I think no matter what you do, you need to keep that spark in your look, and always wonder why this hasn't been done before. I think this is something that drives you in science, in a business, in your life. Why? This is the question. Or even more important, why not?
As you saw, ECOMARE has a big range of services, and we at Blue Alliance are always available to help you identify the best service tailored to your needs. I hope you like these visits, and don't forget to visit the website of